A very good morning, dear students. As a part of discussion about the casting procedures, in session 1 we discussed about the introduction, the various steps involved in the casting procedures, as well as the configuration or the location or the attachment of a sprue, which is supposed to be considered as one of the important factors for the success or the failure of the casting procedure. In this session, the other components like crucible former or casting ring or casting ring liner or different investment material will be discussed. Crucible former is the base to which a sprue former is attached or the sprue is attached while the wax pattern is being invested in a refractory investment like a gypsum product or the phosphate bonded investment material. It is a convex rubber or a plastic or a metal base that forms a concave depression or the crucible in the refractory investment. This definition is from Glossary of Prosthodontic Terms 9. The sprue is attached to the crucible former, usually made up of rubber, which serves as a base for the casting ring during the investment procedure. The exact shape of the crucible former depends on the type of ring and casting machine we use. Generally, the crucible former will be in conical shape so that the whatever metal is pushed inside the crucible will be directed into one particular point and enter into the empty mold space through the sprue. With the most modern machines, the crucible former will be a tall and it allows the use of a short sprue and also to enable the pattern to be positioned near the end of the casting ring. So there are different forms of crucible formers are available with a round shape or the rectangle or the square shaped crucible formers. Once the crucible former is selected and the wax pattern is attached along with the sprue, the casting ring is positioned over the crucible former. The casting ring is a metallic or non-metallic, I mean to say silicon tube, in which a refractory mold or material is poured for casting the dental restorations or for the investing the dental restorations. The investment materials like a gypsum bonded, silica or phosphate bonded materials are poured in the casting ring and it will be allowed to set around the wax pattern and later that will be casted with the metal. The types of casting rings includes a metallic or non-metallic. Whenever we use or whenever we select the metallic ring, we need to apply the casting ring liner, which is basically made up with asbestos or the cellulose around the inner surface of the metallic ring to allow the lateral expansion of the investment material to compensate the casting shrinkage. Whereas the rubber or the silicon based casting rings, they were used, and for that rubber rings or the silicon based casting rings, we need not to use the casting ring liner, because once the investment gets over and the material is set, the silicon tube will be removed from the mold or the investment material and the total mold will be placed in the burnout furnace or for the casting procedure. So these also called as ringless castings. To conclude about the casting rings, that can be uh, discussed under three different categories based on the shape or complete or split rings. Based on the shape, we can avail a round shaped casting ring or oval shaped or the rectangle or the square shape. Based on the flexibility, can be a flexible or non-flexible or the rigid type. Based on the split, could be a metallic or the plastic one. The advantage with a split ring casting ring is the divestment is very comfortable and easy. The another component used in casting procedure is ring liner. It is also called as a casting ring liner, which is placed on the inner side of the casting ring. And these are the materials used to line the casting ring so that during heating or the burner procedure, it allows the expansion of the investment material in the lateral aspect to compensate the casting shrinkage. There are different types of liners are available. Based on the content or the composition, they have categorized as asbestos and non-asbestos components. Non-asbestos components includes ceramic aluminosilicate, cellulose, and ceramic cellulose. Let us look into the functions of casting ring liners. The main function includes it allows enough lateral expansion of the mold or the investment material during setting or burner procedure or the heating procedure. The another function is it allows the longitudinal expansion. It minimizes the longitudinal expansion by adhesion of investment at the ends of the mold so that they minimizes the distortion in the longitudinal direction. The another use is when the casting ring is transferred from furnace to the casting machine, which will take few seconds time. Meanwhile, it reduces the heat loss or it maintains the temperature as it is a very good thermal insulator. And it also permits the easy separation of the investment, that is called a divestment, from the ring after the casting procedure gets over. The exact placement or the location of casting ring liner is the inner surface of the casting ring, leaving a 3 millimeters space on the top end and the lower end of the casting ring. The liner is positioned carefully to allow the controlled expansion of the investment material while doing the burner procedure in the lateral aspect, and it won't allow the expansion of the investment material in the longitudinal direction. And nowadays the cellulose or aluminum silicate ceramic liners are using because the asbestos casting ring liners may cause the carcinogenic when we do the burner procedure, that vapors or the dust may cause the health hazards. Let me revise the important aspects we discussed till now. That is about the wax pattern, about the sprue, crucible former, casting ring liner, and casting ring. Careful observation of these particular photograph give a clear visualization of the position of the wax pattern, the location or the angulation we supposed to attach the sprue, and how the sprue is oriented to the crucible former, which is in conical shape. The metal which is casted into the crucible former, once investment gets over and burnout gets over, that molten metal will be directed into the empty space of the wax pattern through the sprue, and which is very well surrounded nicely with the casting ring, width of 6 millimeter distance on the top portion of the wax pattern, and which is lined clearly with a casting ring liner which is coated in the light yellow color, leaving 3 millimeters of shortage in the upper and lower end. So all the components of this particular photograph gives clear visualization of the casting procedures which we have discussed till now. Once the wax pattern is sprued and attached to the crucible former in a particular direction and surrounded with a casting ring along with the ring liner, the next procedure will be the investing procedure. It is done by pouring a investment material into the total mold space and fill the casting ring. The investing is a process of covering or enveloping or wholly or a part an object such as a denture, tooth or wax pattern or a crown with a suitable investment material before proceeding for a casting procedure. Currently there are three different types of investment materials available. That includes gypsum bonded, phosphate and silica bonded investment material. The selection criteria of investment material among these three, it purely depends on the type of metal we are planning for the casting. If restoration or the casting need to be done with a gold alloy, then we need to go with a gypsum bonded investment material because it requires around 700 degrees temperature for the casting the gold alloy. So that's why gypsum bonded investment material is indicated for casting the gold alloys, inlays or onlays or the crowns, or for making the smaller fixed partial dentures. Whereas the phosphate bonded investment material is indicated for casting the metals for the metal ceramic restorations and also for the pressable ceramics or to cast the base metal alloys. Whereas ethyl silicate bonded investment material is indicated for casting the base metal alloys for the purpose of fabricating the cast partial dentures or the removable partial dentures. With this, we have finished a little discussion about the casting ring liners, casting rings, crucible former, as well as a little bit introduction about the investment material. The casting procedure part 3 will be having the investment procedures and casting procedures. Thank you very much. Have a good day.